Welcome to another virtual learning opportunity brought to you by your Green Bay Area Public Schools Technology Integrator. All right, I am going to start presenting my screen for you all, and we're going to go into Google Classroom. So hopefully that's what you're here for, because that's what you're getting. So, all right, Google Classroom. We're going to go ahead. There are so many ways to get into Google Classroom, first of all. So you can get at it whatever way you're comfortable with. That's important for you to remember. A lot of students get at it by going through ClassLink Launchpad, super basic way to get at it. You can also get at it by starting in your Google Drive or any one of the other Google apps. And then you go to the waffle, the app launcher in the top right. And when I click on that and scroll down, I'll find Google Classroom. So go into Google Classroom however you're comfortable doing it. And what I want to point out is I'm going to actually create a Google Classroom that you all are going to join. But the first thing you have to do is you have to create your own class. If the first time you're in Google Classroom is by joining somebody else's class, then what we find is it gets confused and it thinks you're a student, and then you are unable to create a class. So that's going to be our first task that we get at today, is making sure that everybody can create a class. All right. So if you will just click on create that class there, I'm just going to switch back over, make sure we're doing okay. Everybody's with me? Are there any questions? If you have a question that can't wait, go ahead and shout it out. Unmute yourself and say it. Otherwise, Shelly is our new tech integrator, and she is in the chat. So she'll be answering questions as we go. If you want to just throw it in the chat, she'll be able to help you out from there. So, all right. So I'm creating a class, and you can create a class right along with me. I am just going to call this a sample class to get started. You can feel free to name it whatever class you're going to be using. If you have sections, you can fill out the section part. If you don't, you can leave it blank. Same thing with subject and room. If you want to fill those things out, you can. Otherwise, all that can be left blank. When I'm done creating my, putting all my information in, I'm going to click on create. And it's going to go ahead and create that class for me. So while I'm in Google Classroom, this name of my class is just sample, and I get a class code. So my class code I can make bigger by clicking on that little box next to it. And if you would all write that down or copy that somehow, I'm going to have you join my class, because I'm going to I want you to see the student side of it. And I have some documents that you can then access. So I'm going to use this to show you how I add videos, how I add documents, and then you'll be able to see the student side of it as well. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. And it is case sensitive, so just kind of keep that in mind. All right, and you should have your own class as well. All right, so now what you would do to join is where we said create. Now you're going to go back in. I'm going to go back to my classes, and this time I'll click this. This is what the students would do, and they would choose to join the class, and then this is where you're going to type in that code. So it was E52MKQE. So you're going to type that in to join the class, and I see we've got people coming in pretty rapidly here, so that's awesome. And then you'll click on the word join. And the reason we wanted to make sure you could create your class first was so that it doesn't get confused. But I have joined many classrooms, and I have created many classrooms. So when I am on my Google Classroom landing page, this is how I can tell if I've created the class or if I've joined the class. So the person who is my instructor, my teacher, or who has created that classroom, that's the person whose face I see. So Tricia Smet at Kennedy has a Google Classroom for a book group called The Leader in Me. And so I can tell that this is one where I am a student in. All right. Otherwise, like the one for today's sample, there are 25 students and I am the teacher. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back into that. All right, so now I don't have anything in my classroom yet, but I can add things to my classroom. All right, I can see who is in it, who has joined it by looking at my people, my list of people here. And people can continue to join, that's fine, but you can then cross-reference who's in your student list with your roster. All right, so you don't have the students in front of you. So the other way that you can have people join it is by clicking on this little people plus sign. So remember, I'm in the people tab, and I click on the people plus sign right here, and this is where I can put in my student email addresses. Now, I'm going to attach a document and a video. Actually, I'm going to start with a video. I'm going to attach a video that actually shows you how to get all those student email addresses out of Infinite Campus. It's going to save you tons of time. All right. So I have to go into the classwork. So this is where all of the assignments or quizzes or videos, anything for my classwork that I want to give to my students, this is the tab that I do that in. And I start by clicking on the Create button. And if you've been participating in Google Hangouts and Google Calendar and Google Drive, and if you've been learning those things over the past few years, these all have that similar path of what it looks like. You're going to start with Create. So I'm going to choose Create, and I'm going to just add material. It's not an assignment. It's not a quiz. It's just something that's for your information. The other thing I could do, because I'm giving you a video, I could put it as an assignment or as a question, and then I put the video in there and then maybe give you a worksheet that goes with the video or ask a question about the video. So there's a lot of ways you can do this, but I'm going to just add material. I might also do something for like my syllabus or something like that. All right, so this is how to add, oh no, sorry, how to get student email addresses, oops, from IC. So that's what my title is. I can describe it. I think I described it pretty well right there. And then I'm going to click on the word add. All right, and then I'm going to paste in that YouTube link that I already had. I found it out on YouTube, copied that, pasted it in there. I'm going to click search so that it goes out and finds it. Now notice my blue button isn't highlighted. I can't add it right now. All right. Whoops. I was clicking too much. Sorry about that. I need to click on that video because sometimes it's going to give me several videos. To click on that video that's the one I want to do, and then I'm going to choose add. And now it pulled it up here for me. It's a real short video, 1 minute long. There it is. I'm going to put it in just my one class. This is where you could send it to all your classes if you have several of the same course. And I can either post it now. So if I clicked post, it's going to come to you immediately. Or if I'm getting stuff ready today that I want to send out next week, I can choose schedule. And then I come in here and it's like, yep, this is something I'm going to send out next week on the 25th. I can choose the time that it goes out, and then I would click schedule. So you can get down to the minute that you want that to go out. The other thing is I'm just not sure if I really want to get this assignment out. I'm just going to hold on to it. I might use it later so I can save it as a draft. But I want this to come to you right away, so I'm going to choose post. And then it's going to go ahead, and it's going to go. And there you go. See, this was my draft one. Remember, I went out of there. If I don't want that, I can click on those three. My computer doesn't want to be cooperative. I can click on those three dots right there. I could either edit it, which is maybe change the wording, things like that, or I can just completely delete it. Yep, I do want to completely delete it because it's a duplicate. Okay, so that's how I added a video. Everything that I'm going to add, I start the same way. I go into the Create button. And let's say this time I'm going to add an assignment. It looks very similar to what I just was doing. I am going to go back out. So now I'm still in the classwork tab that's up here. I'm going to create an assignment. And let's say this time it's just the attendance. So this is another way where I'm going to take that attendance document that you all were writing in, and I'm going to put that in my Google Classroom. So I'm going to say add, and it's from my Google Drive. And I like that it pops up with recent, because this is it right here. This is the recent one. So notice again, my word add is grayed out a little bit. So I have to click on that. My computer keeps acting up. I apologize. I keep seeing that. And then once I click on that, I get add. All right. So I'm going to add that document in there. Now, this is the important part. I have different choices with giving them an assignment. So right now, it defaults to every student can just view it. So if you're putting your syllabus or a rubric or anything else you just want them to be able to look at, you want them to each be able to view it. You don't want them to be able to do anything to it. In this particular case, I wanted you all to put your name in for attendance. So I want everybody to edit this same file. That's not as common, because most of the time you want the students to have their own copy and work on their own copy of the document. But in this case, I did want everybody to be in the same document so I could see how well you could work together and get along and no fighting. All right, so then I want to choose so students can edit the file in this particular case. Okay, now up here on this other side, I have more choices. Again, I'm in my sample classroom, so it's going to put that as the class that this assignment gets attached to. I can do all the students, or I could say, if I uncheck that, I can say, I just want a few people to have access to that assignment. So if it's something that is more of extra practice for a few kids or an extension activity for some of them, you can choose who is going to end up getting that. I'm going to keep this for everyone, but you can specify. So it used to be where teachers would have to create, several different Google Classrooms for their groups within their class. Now you can take care of it all right here. So I'm going to give that to everyone. I can assign points, or I can say that this is ungraded. All right, I'm not going to grade you on how you put your name in there. I can add a due date. It automatically will give me the due date of tomorrow. So that's just the default. If you want to set that out further ahead, you can. I'm going to put the due date of today, and I'm even going to put a time on here. And this is going to close at 3 o'clock. So you can say when the students no longer have access to that assignment. So that's what I did right there. So 3 o'clock today is when you can't access this anymore. There are topics. A lot of people love this. This is new within the past couple of years. You can create a topic so you can organize it maybe by unit. So it could be, the unit 1 or unit 2 or unit 3, or maybe, and you could have grammar and writing and, whatever topics you want to have. You could create those topics in there to organize. You can add a rubric. We're not going to get into the adding of the rubric today because that doesn't impact hardly anybody that's in here today. All right, when I'm all set, I'm going to go ahead and pick assign. And now everybody that has joined our Google Classroom is going to get that attendance as an assignment. You'll have until 3 o'clock today to make sure your name gets put in there. And then it's closed. All right, and that's the same thing for you students. When you put a date in there that closes, they no longer have access to it from that point on. Okay, let's see. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to create a quiz for our students. So I'm going to go in here to create. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to do question. The reason I'm going to do question is I think With most of you being secondary teachers that are in here, this is a fantastic way to get your students engaged when they're at home. You can pose a question. You could pose a question every single day. I could maybe say, what was the best part of yesterday? Whatever question you want to pose out there. It could be, how do you feel about the protagonist in such a story? Or, whatever topic you're on, throw a question out there. You can limit what their answers. You can give them multiple choice, or they can type in short answer. When you do this, you could also open it up for them and have them answer the question and then respond to maybe 3 of your classmates or something like that. And this is a good opportunity for you to moderate that conversation. You're going to be seeing all of their answers. It's a nice way for them to learn that collaboration. When we go out into our business partners and they talk about what skills they need from our students, and this collaboration piece and the ability to work together remotely, that's what we can do. Use this time to prepare our students for that right there. All right, so I posed the question. I could add like a piece of reference material. I could add a PDF, have them look at this PDF and react to it, watch a YouTube video, react to it with that question that goes in up there. All right, everything is set over here. Again, I can put this in all my classes. When you put it in more than one class, keep in mind they're only able to answer in their class. So if I do choose my Tech Ninjas and my sample, the Tech Ninjas are only going to be answering and seeing each other's, and they're not going to see anybody in the sample class. So that's a nice feature. I can also say when this is due. I want this for tomorrow. And then I can add that topic again like we saw before. This is defaulted that the students can reply to each other. You could add this ability for the students to edit their answers. So maybe I said that this was the best part of my day yesterday, and then I go in and I start commenting on my friends, and I realize, oh, actually, I'd like to change my answer. If you want them to be able to do that, you can put that check mark in there. So after they answered, they can go back in and make adjustments. All right, when that's all done, I can do the same thing, schedule it out, save this as a draft, do whatever. I'm going to ask that question right now, and it throws it right on out there for everybody to see. Okay, let's see. We're going to give a quiz assignment. All right, so this is something, if you haven't used Google Forms, this is a really nice feature. You can send a quiz out to your students, and you can actually lock them into that quiz so that they can't open up tabs and do a Google search for their answers. Now, they're at home, so nothing's stopping them from pulling up another computer or their phone and doing it. But, for all practical purposes, that's the nice feature of doing this in your classroom. All right, and that's what this button right here would be, to lock it. All right, so it gives me a blank quiz. So let's say I'm going to give a quiz over multiplication facts. So I'm just going to title it facts. I can give more instructions in there, however you want to do that. And then I'm going to go into my form. All right, so it's going to lock that up. And then I just type in my first question. What is 5 times 5? And then I can give my multiple choice answers. Oops. Come on. Oh, my mouse is not. Oh, I opened up my equatio. Didn't want my equatio. Come on. There we go. And just by hitting enter, it's taking me down to the next one. All right, so I've got my different answers in there, and you can just keep asking questions. If I come over here to the plus sign, that's going to just give me another question. All right, If I come back up here and edit this, I can import questions from somewhere else. But the one I like is, oops, I am going to duplicate this question. So maybe I want to say, what is 5 times 6? So if I'm doing something super similar, I can do 5 times 3. So I don't have to keep typing out the questions if it's going to be very similar. Otherwise, I can just add a question and then I can put, you know, what is 8 times 7? I could go through all the 8s. All right, so a question here. One of the things I didn't do, I'm just going to do, I'm just going to hop down here and add another question. If you have multiple sections, you want to probably do a different quiz for each section. That it's a personal opinion. It depends on how you organize your drive and how you organize all your documents. If I were to give this exact same quiz to all 150 of my students, then all of their answers are going to be all mingled together based on when they took the quiz. The other thing I could do, so I could just do this question and then have one for first hour, one for second hour, one for third hour. The other thing I could do is I could say, I could add the question, which class period are you in? All right, and so then I've got my options and I can say period 1, period 3, period 5, and so forth. And then when I get all my answers, I can sort that spreadsheet. Now that's just saying if you wanted all 150 kids to take this exact same quiz, that's how you can sort it out. All right, now notice I didn't ask anybody to put their name on this quiz. All right, I'm going to go up to the gear part here, and if I don't ask them to put their name in, I need to make sure I'm collecting their email addresses so I know who this is. All right, so instead of that, I might also want to add the question. If I'm going to sort them, I might just say last name, and then I'm going to duplicate this and first name. Okay, and it's giving me that short answer text. Now, I don't want these at the very bottom. I want these at the very top. So I'm going to take this one, see where those 6 dots are. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to pull it all the way up to the top. So now, oops, it didn't quite get up there. So now my first, well, it doesn't want to go. Let me try moving the other one down. There we go. All right, so last name, I'm going to take first name and drag it up there also, and probably the class period too. So if you change your mind about how you want these in here, you can move the questions around. That's kind of why I wanted to show you it in this way. Okay, so underneath there, what period are you in? Oops, after the name. All right, so now when I get me results for this, it's going to be, this is going to be the first thing, last name. Second column will be first name. Third column will be the class period that they've chosen. And then each column will have an answer in it. Okay, now you can get real fancy with this, so just kind of take that in consideration. But here's where all my questions are. To find out how the students answered, I can go under responses. I'm going to click on this little spreadsheet, create a spreadsheet, and it's going to automatically create it. I'm not doing anything. My hands aren't even on the keyboard. And it's going to tell me when they took it. I like that feature a lot. Their email address, if I have it scored, and then each column is a question. Okay, and that is, I'm doing that right in my Google Classroom. Here's that quiz. All right, I don't want to leave it blank quiz. I'm going to call it math quiz. All right, so when I rename it, it's going to change that. It'll catch up here in a minute. That'll change it right in my Google Classroom. Okay, So that's where I did say grade importing. I'm not going to grade it, so I can get rid of that. All right. So it just took it right in Google Classroom. I can do the exact same thing that I did for my other assignments. I can schedule this out or assign it now. Let's say I'm going to assign it now. I can pick, whoops. Oh, it didn't even let me finish. I went right out. But here, that's okay. I can come out here and I can edit it some more. So, all right. So it's for all those students in my class. I can say that it's ungraded. All right. When it's due, the topic, I can go ahead and do all those things. I can change the due date. Remember, it's going to default to tomorrow for me. And I'm not going to worry about a time. And then I'm just going to save it, update that assignment because I went a little bit too fast. And there it is. Now that assignment's all been updated. All right. And remember, this one is grayed out because we scheduled this to happen down the road a little bit. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Those are a lot of information. How are we doing over here? To have students fill out assignments and then submit them electronically. You want to send the students the assignments. The nice thing about that is when you give them the assignment, let's see. I didn't give just a generic assignment. Let me show you here. All right, I'm going to create one more assignment, which is probably the most common kind of assignment that you're going to give. And we're going to just have this be a writing assignment. And I could put my directions in there. I'm getting it from my Google Drive. And I have one, oops, that's not how you spell it. I have a Scholastic assignment that when I'm subbing in classrooms, that the Scholastic Story Starter, when I sub in classrooms, this is one of my go-to things. All right. So just a writing assignment. I want every student to get their own copy. All right. So I put my template in there, but that's okay. Every student is going to get their own copy of this. All right. I'm just going to skip all this stuff and just going to assign it as is to save some time. And so now, those of you that are still in the Google Classroom, if you want to, I can go back into the stream and you can see all these assignments. If a few people want to open that one up and you can just then click on turn in and then it'll submit. And then what's going to happen is we're going to notice it's 33 people that are in our classroom. And if a couple people are just going to, you don't have to do anything to it. You can just click turn in. And then we see in real time as students are turning in that assignment. So there's very, very little delay. You can literally see the students as they click submit or as they click turn in, you start seeing it come up on your on your thread here. So 6 people have turned it in. All right, so I can see a couple people that that did. I'm going to grab Kelly's here just because I want you to see how it looks. That assignment comes up then with the student name and then dash and then that writing assignment. And then on my end, I'm going to evaluate it. I can put feedback, you know, give her information. It's like, oh, that's a great topic sentence. Your details are awesome, you know, yada, yada, yada. And then I can give it back to her. And I'm just going to say, do you want to return it? Yep, I didn't grade it. That's okay. And I can return it to her. So now Kelly actually got that assignment back.
And learning tip was recorded using WeVideo on the Yoga laptop.